Well, here it is. We've completed a first season of The Unprofessional Chef, and we figured we'd spend this last episode looking back on some of the fun we've had. Let's go ahead and go to the tape. Being that we're going to be doing an Italian quesadilla later on in the episode, I've decided to change a fruit salsa a little bit and give it a decidedly Italian flavor. For this recipe, we'll be using watermelon, honeydew melon, cantaloupe, red onion, serrano pepper, garlic, basil, which I've decided to use in place of cilantro to give it a little bit more of an Italian flavor, lime juice, a little bit of honey to accentuate the sweetness of the melon, and of course a little bit of kosher salt. Just like the salsa fresca, this is a very simple recipe. We're going to take about 1.5 cups of the watermelon, 1.5 cups of our honeydew melon, 1.5 cups of cantaloupe, 1.5 cups of chopped red onion, 1 serrano chili minced, about 1.5 cloves of garlic minced, 1/2 cup of basil, coarsely chopped, the juice of approximately 1 lime, 2 teaspoons of honey, and once again, as always, a little bit of kosher salt. And we just simply mix. Again, like the salsa fresca, I suggest you leave this in your refrigerator covered for about 1/2 hour to let all the flavors meld, and then serve it up. Now we're going to do one of my favorite Chinese appetizers, shrimp toast. The ingredients for the topping are as follows. We've got about 2 cloves of garlic and about 1-inch piece of ginger. Both have been roughly chopped. About 2 scallions worth, again roughly chopped. About 1 pound of shrimp, some salt, some pepper, and 2 egg whites. Being that we're going to go ahead and make this in batches, we're going to add about half the ingredients at this time. So, roughly half of your garlic and ginger, a nice bit of green onion, about half the shrimp, good pinch of salt, and a couple grinds of black pepper. Now we're just going to go ahead and pulse this till it forms a nice coarse puree. You want to make sure that you get your scallions, garlic, and ginger fairly finely chopped. And that looks to be about right. And now we're going to turn it on and pour in our egg whites, which are what is going to bind this whole mixture. Again, we're only going to use about half of this at this time. You may need to scrape down the sides of your bowl periodically so that everything gets nice and mixed. It's kind of strange looking, I realize, but trust me, it's well worth it. And actually, that looks pretty well mixed to me. Go ahead and get it in a bowl, and I'll show you how to assemble everything. And now to assemble our shrimp toast. We took 12 slices of just your basic white bread, cut off the crusts, and we used the crusts as well as a couple additional slices to make our breadcrumbs here. And then we just cut the slices in half. And we'll just take a slice, spread a pretty good layer of this mixture on top. Take it shrimp side down, right into our breadcrumbs. You don't need a lot of breadcrumb, but just enough to get a pretty good layer. And then onto the tray. You do want to make sure that you get pretty much the whole surface of the bread covered. Otherwise, you get a lot of toast and a little shrimp. Hi, Ma. And that's the last one of the first batch. We'll put this batch in the fridge for about 10 minutes while we do the second batch. And it's pretty much just the same procedure all over again. It's been about 10 minutes or so now. Exact time is not important. We just want them to firm up a little bit. And now we'll go ahead and fry them up. You want about a medium-high flame. And we're just going to use some peanut oil. We're not deep frying, so we don't want a ton of oil, but we do want enough to get a really good layer going. And now we'll just let this heat up for a moment or two. Now that the oil's gotten hot, I'm just going to lay these down in it. You don't want to overcrowd your pan, because otherwise that'll drop the temperature of the oil too much. And then they won't really fry, they'll just kind of soak up oil. And these will take probably about 2 minutes on either side. I'll lower the heat here just a notch. Okay. It's only been about a minute or so, but these actually look like they're all set to flip. You really shouldn't use your fingers to flip things, but I tend to have asbestos fingers. And now these will cook probably about 30 seconds to a minute on the other side. All right, batch number 2 coming through. Don't these look better than anything you've ever been served in a Chinese restaurant? This first one is called puttanesca. Puttana in Italian means hooker. So this is actually the hooker sauce, made to be prepared very quickly between clients, shall we say. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start this out over about medium heat. A little bit of olive oil. Seems ironic to be using extra virgin olive oil in hooker sauce, but I think that's about up to heat. I'll go ahead and, of course, add some garlic. Not quite up to heat, but it'll do. And we just need a wooden spoon here. There's the sizzle we're looking for. So let's go ahead and add just a touch more garlic to this. This is a fairly spicy and full-flavored sauce. We're also going to add some red pepper flakes, pretty good quantity of those, and a couple of anchovies that have been chopped. You don't really taste the anchovy, it just adds a really nice background flavor to things. I'm going to add some capers and some chopped Greek olives. I would use Italian black olives if I could find them, but you kind of have to go with what you have. A little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper, and then before that garlic starts to brown too much, we're going to go ahead and add some of our tomatoes. Depending on how thick you want your sauce, you can add a lot or a little of the liquid. At least at the beginning, I like to add quite a bit of liquid because it helps to stop the cooking of the garlic. But at the same time, you don't want to add so much tomatoes and so much liquid that you overpower the flavor of your capers and olives. Let's see how that looks once we stir it up a little bit. I think we can go a little bit heavier on the tomatoes here. And that should be about good. And the great thing about this sauce is you can prepare it ahead of time. And it'll keep in the fridge for several days. So if you want to have friends over, or you get home, from work at 11 o'clock at night and decide to just throw in a little bit of pasta, you can have this in the fridge and ready to roll. Now what we're going to go ahead and do, this will simmer for about 20 minutes. I'm actually going to go ahead and set it on our other stove so we can get on with our next recipe. In addition to some great food, we even found some time to have a few laughs. Favorite recipes.
What the hell are you people doing in my kitchen?
Sorry about that, folks. See, we're borrowing a house here to do our shoots, and, well, we had to take care of a little problem. But as I was saying before we were rudely interrupted, today we're going to do one of my favorite hors d'oeuvres, deviled eggs. And with some of the tips I'll teach you, they're as easy as can be. So let me just take out the trash and we'll get on with the show. Be back in a jiffy. to go about as wide as you want the chunks to be in the end, and trying not to cut through the skin if you can avoid it. And just do kind of a crosshatch there. And then take your spoon and simply, we also have tomato, white onion, jalapeno, garlic, and cilantro. Now, just like the salsa, all we really need to do is mix the ingredients together. I've used one bowl, rub it together. Small white onion. These are all white onions. Jalapeno, minced fairly finely. And again, you can adjust the amount as you go, depending on your taste. My taste tends to be fairly hot. A clove of garlic, again, minced very, very fine. And about a quarter cup of chopped cilantro. When you're mixing, you want to be careful. You don't want to completely mash the avocado. I happen to like my guacamole rather chunky as opposed to a very smooth paste. But again, it's really all up to you. In order to store the guacamole, you want to take a sheet of basic plastic wrap and actually press it down onto the surface of the guacamole.
And cut.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our little walk down memory lane here. And we're going to take a little bit of time off to get some more shows together. And we'll see you in a couple of seasons. Buon appetito!